There's a reason why you and me, and even most boxing fans around the world, love and appreciate the Pac-Man Manny Pacquiao so much. He is a national treasure, and he is an all-time great in boxing. And with him accepting the fight versus Errol Spence Jr., he's showing us exactly why we fell in love with him in the first place. You know, this is far from ideal for Manny Pacquiao because, first of all, out of all the options you could have picked, at 43 years old, after being outside the ring for almost 2 years, more than 2 years by the time he steps in, out of all the options, say what you want, maybe Manny Pacquiao is short, but he's definitely not short on options. He can fight whoever he wants, and whoever he fights, it's gonna be a spectacle either way. And yet he chose to fight the most avoided man in the welterweight division, the boogeyman of the welterweights, Errol Spence Jr. This is far from ideal for the Pac-Man, for a few reasons. Firstly, and mainly, it's because Errol Spence is a southpaw, and I believe the last time Manny Pacquiao fought a southpaw was almost 10 years ago. And more than that, we've seen that when Manny Pacquiao is performing at his best is when he's active. When he fought Keith Thurman, say what you want. The new boxing fans, they don't really respect Keith Thurman like that because they don't really know Thurman when he was competing before the injuries. Thurman is an absolute monster, and despite all the injuries, one thing you will not lose is your devastating power. And he is the most powerful out of all of these current welterweights, and still Manny Pacquiao chose to fight him. Now Manny Pacquiao had what some might call a warm-up fight against AJ Broner before fighting Keith Thurman, and that is why we've seen the Pac-Man look so special, so fluid. It's because he was active, and when Manny Pacquiao is active, you better expect fireworks. But now it is far from ideal. The situation is far from ideal for Manny Pacquiao. Almost 2 years and a half outside the ring, not active, fighting a southpaw for the first time in almost 10 years. And you're not just fighting any southpaw, but you're fighting the most dangerous southpaw of all, Errol Spence Jr. Nobody wants to fight him. And even when he fights the top level opposition, he annihilates them. Now I thought that after the accident, Spence wasn't going to be the same. But in his fight versus Danny Garcia, man, he looked better than ever. He looked as sharp and as powerful and as strong, as ferocious as he ever looked. And yet still Manny Pacquiao was like, listen, at 43 years old, if I'm gonna step in to the squared circle, that is the guy I want. I don't want no soft touches, no easy fights. Give me the toughest of all, give me the trickiest of all, give me the strongest out of all of these welterweights, Errol Spence Jr., a man who's not even 30, I believe. He's currently reaching the surface of his physical and mental prime, and yet still Manny Pacquiao chose Errol Spence, and that is exactly why you and I fell in love with the Pac-Man from the very first start.